something that's really important to our program. They are called the core routines of connection. So these are processes by which we reliably can get people to connect with those important elements, and particularly with nature. But all three pieces are built in connection with others and self as well. So I'm going to let Jennifer speak to what those are, and then we'll say a few more words about them at the end.
Yeah, so there's a lot of them. You can use very many routines to connect, but the ones that we focus on are the following. So the one you'll probably see us do most as a routine is Thanksgiving. Before we, when we gather with everybody before we do anything else, we'll have a Thanksgiving circle. And that just helps us to bring all of our minds into the same place at the same time together. Another routine is the sit spot. And this is a quiet time out in nature with a little bit of a sense of solitude. We don't send kids alone in nature, but we give them a spot where they have a sense of being one-on-one with nature, and they're just focused on being there. Another is, we use the phrase dynamic sensory memory, but that may not be obvious at first what it is. It's the use of all your senses when you're telling a story or describing something to someone. So you're bringing yourself back into your experience that day. If you're telling somebody about how you found a frog in the pond, you're seeing the frog and you're feeling its weight in your hand, and you're smelling the smell of the water beside you. And then another one of the routines is expanding our senses in the moment, where you might see some of our staff members do what we call sense meditations, where we coach participants to use each of their senses in turn to connect with what's going on in nature at the moment. Another we call animal forms, which is basically pretending to be animals. And it's a great one to awaken the body to being present in nature. We might go around and put on some deer antlers and pretend to rub our antlers on the trees and prance around like pine martens or other animals. And so that is actually a designed way of connecting with what it is to be those animals. Another is questioning and tracking. And we may not all actually go tracking animals, but we will be tracking patterns in nature. And the process of questioning is a core routine to help people connect better with those patterns. Another is wandering without an agenda. So you might see us go off in a direction and just see what kind of plants and animals and experiences we can find. And that may seem unproductive. It may seem like we're not actually doing something, but that is a core routine of nature connection, to wander and see what nature gives you. And another is mapping, drawing where you've been and kind of connecting the dots ecologically. That's a very important part of what we do. And we'll have field guides out. It's, we don't all have elders around who can tell us about, what species of frog that is, or how you use that particular plant for tea. But we do have field guides, and so we'll be using those for the knowledge that they can give us that connects to all the naturalists who've gone before us. And we might have our journals out while we do that. We'll probably use journals at some point during camp, especially when it's raining or bad weather out, or if we just need a little downtime, some time to integrate what we've been doing. Journals are a great tool for that. Survival living is another core routine. And you'll definitely see us building survival shelters, making fire by friction, getting food and tea off the land. All of those are survival living. And lastly, we have bird language, which is basically the idea is that all of the animals, and especially the birds out in the world, are watching and listening for predators. They're all responding to patterns out in nature. And if you learn what patterns to key into, if you learn how to really listen Instead of being stuck in your mind, your mental chatter, if you're listening to nature at all times, you will know when predators are coming. And so the practice of bird language is the way that we learn those patterns.
I want to say just a couple things about the core routines and how they relate to the way that we see our work as mentors, which is much more about being artists who are responding constantly to what's coming to us through our senses. And so that's one of the reasons that expanding our understanding of our senses and taking in information in all those different ways is really, really an important core routine. And for us as mentors, we're constantly in that artistic mode of listening deeply to what's coming through from the kids and from our other participants and whatever's happening on the land or in the sky or wherever it is, and then adjusting and asking the questions that are needed to take us to expanded awareness and expanded understanding of what is happening. And then the beautiful thing about core routines is they all kind of bring us back down to the core of the most important meaning that we take home from the day. And so at the end of the day, that story of the day, telling of what happens, which you'll experience around the fire, is the place where we really bring it in and ask ourselves, what does this all mean? So we learned things, we experienced things, we retold them, we lived them in our bodies, we were grateful for those things, and we connected with each other in that way, and we've shared our stories, and what does that all mean? And sometimes that answer doesn't come right away, but putting it out there as an intention is a really important part of our work.